Hi everyone, I'm Carnes, and this is Living Consciously. We happen to be taping this on the last day of November 2017, so we're about to enter into that time of year we call the holidays. Some people call them the holy days. They don't always seem like holy days to a lot of people. There are many issues around this time of year, and we could talk about all kinds of them. But today I'm going to pick the myth of peace. You know, you're going to get some greeting cards that say peace on earth, peace and blessings, we wish you peace, and you know, all this kind of thing. Because there is this mythology around peace that says it is something we might achieve someday. If everything in the world changes, if everybody were different, if all the conflicts would stop, if there was no racism and no sexism and no this and no that, we would have peace. And it would be something we would experience as a group. So I'm going to dispel that myth today. And I'm going to begin with a quote from one of the Greek philosophers, Epictetus, who said, "People are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them." And I happened to pick up an older book, this one called From Science to God, by a friend of mine, Dr. Peter Russell, who's a theoretical physicist and a meditation teacher. He got his PhD studying the profound positive effects of meditation. So in his book, he asserts that peace is something we seek, but it's already present in us. And he said what we must do to experience it. Now note the distinction. He didn't say to achieve it or attain it. He said to experience it is to do a couple of things. Stop wanting things to be different. Stop being upset when things don't go your way. Stop blaming other people for your experience. And stop worrying about the future. He said, and you got to remember, this is a Oxford, Cambridge, incredibly erudite man, a scientist. He said, the peace you seek is already within you. And to use the mind in the way he suggests, to stop worrying, stop being upset about things when they don't go the way you want them to, stop blaming other people for your experience, and stop wishing everything were different. He said, you get behind those thoughts and you'll find peace. Now, how do you get behind those thoughts? Well, you have to make a conscious effort to change your inner dialogue. And that is so much of what spirituality is about. Modern spirituality. It's changing the inner dialogue, being mindful of what you're doing with your mind, because your mind is very powerful and very creative, and it's preventing you, me, us, from achieving the experience that we're seeking in the outer world, which is a deep and lasting peace. All right, so in his research, he discovered that peace is the resting place between thoughts. Now, you've heard me talk about this before if you watch the program, because I am very into meditation. I've been doing it for 40 years. And I know how incredibly powerful it is, and how healing it is, and how life-changing it can be if it's practiced regularly. So I'm not going to talk about that so much, except about the effects of it. The effects on people who meditate regularly is they bring a greater sense of peace into the group. And imagine if whole populations of people had that inner experience of peace. Wouldn't we then be experiencing peace together? Yes, we would, and we would act accordingly. That's the key, isn't it? It's like all of these things we do as a spiritual practice are not in and of themselves the end result. It's how they affect us when we're not practicing. When we're just being our regular everyday self, driving cars, shopping at the supermarket, attending a meeting or a concert, having friends over for dinner, that's where it shows up. That's where peace is. Is it something that we have developed an awareness of? See, that's what it is. You don't get peace. It's already there. It's in between, it's, like they say, it's in between your heartbeats. It's the resting place between heartbeats, and it's the in-between thoughts. There is a space between thoughts. The problem is most of us never give ourselves a chance to experience that space because we're just thinking, and not paying attention to the quality of those thoughts either. Not only are we having too many of them, but most of them are pretty limiting. I'm not even going to say negative, just limiting ideas about things. Not enough, they won't let me, that kind of thing. So, one of the aspects of not knowing where peace is that when someone comes along like Dr. Russell or Maharishi or Muktananda or Paramahansa Yogananda and says, here's a way to experience the peace you seek, people tend to dismiss it because they think it's religious. There's nothing religious about meditation. Nothing. I wouldn't even say it's spiritual. It is a way to access the deeper realms of our own mind and our own being. And one of the beautiful qualities of our mind and being is inner peace. So it's a technique to achieve that inner peace. And unfortunately, people just misunderstand it all over the place. I've even had people tell me it was satanic, which of course means you have to believe in Satan first, which obviously I don't. I only believe in one power, and that power is love, and that power is intelligence, and it's everywhere present all the time. All of it, all at once, right here, right now, right where you are, right where I am, and it's accessible and available through the mind. Now, we've talked about prayer before. Prayer is a use of mind to attempt to contact that one power. The reason prayer is not as effective as a technique called spiritual mind treatment is because prayer is based on the notion that the power is somewhere else and that you're going to try to contact it and get its attention. Pretty hard to do. But if you know that this power is in you, as you, and you're a vehicle for its expression, then what you say about yourself is you're giving it directions to reveal that in form and experience. In psychology, they would say your self-awareness is a self-fulfilling prophecy. That if you think of yourself, everyone knows this one, as a victim, you tend to attract people who will victimize you. And that's just about anybody if you give them a chance, right? In some way, you will see it as being victimized, even if they're not doing it. You will see it that way. That's because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, finding that inner peace, or the resting place between thoughts, has a real healing component to it. What do you think is residing there? What do you think peace actually is? Okay, I'm going to throw this one out. Peace is actually you. It's your real self when you're not doing anything and you're not even particularly thinking anything. It's just being. Like the great the great vibration, the universal vibration of life, is that resting place between thoughts in you and in me, and we call it peace. So when we have an attachment to doing the way we do in our culture, we have a tendency to misuse all of these wonderful ancient techniques that have been handed down through the ages. We even misunderstand our own religion, whatever that may be. And we're misusing the secrets of the ages. And one of the secrets of the ages is that our life needs to be in balance between the inner and the outer. And in our culture, it's all outer. So much of it is outer. That we miss the opportunity that we have every minute to contact that power and let it come through us as a new idea, a new way about ourselves, usually. That's the real key. It's a new idea about ourselves. So a person who walks around with a deeper sense of peace is a success magnet. You know, a peaceful person is kind of irresistible. And I don't mean they're like, oh, I mean, they're just happy. They tend to be eager to meet new people. They tend to be interested in new ideas. They tend to be creative. And they tend to be willing to listen to the nuances of your ideas or your expression. In other words, they're very inclusive and very welcoming. Those are a combination of qualities that are extremely attractive. We might call it a healing presence. And when I say healing, I mean there are people who quicken our awareness of self. Now, that's what Jesus was doing. You know, all those wonderful stories about Jesus performing miracles, that's not at all what he was doing. They weren't miracles. They were uses of mind in a very specific way. And in his presence, people were quickened to their wholeness. And the wholeness pattern reemerged as what we call a healing. See, we're caught up in the time-space observation of this. That's the bugaboo, is that we call it a healing because it's something that happened in time and space, but actually, it happened first in mind. And then it was revealed. I was talking to someone the other day, actually it was last Sunday in my talk, and we have a little discussion afterwards. And in my talk I said, you know, creation and evolution are the same thing. They're just referenced with two different styles. One is scientific and one is poetic. And the creation story is a story of what happened. The evolution story is how and when it unfolded. So, and you know, you can see this in your own life. You get an idea, and you start working on it from the inside out, and it begins to unfold in the world. You begin to see evidence of it. Have you ever noticed that when you get a really good idea, all of a sudden it appears everywhere in some form, or what you need to complete it appears, maybe a book or a person, or, you know, a phone call from someone that has the answer, but it starts to appear in the world. Well, it's because we live in a time-space dimension. So ideas have to take form in the field of time and space. That's called evolution. But the creation already happened. It happens in mind. So I just find it amusing how closed off people get to these ideas and how they want it to be one way or the other. It's both and. Everything is. Everything is the inner and the outer in a dance. You know, remember, I think I said this a couple weeks ago, the great poet Jalaluddin Rumi, someone said, why do Sufis dance all the time? He said, because life is more like a dance. And it is a dance with a secret partner, and that secret partner is the cosmic mind that we interact with when we think. So it's very important that our thinking arise from a field of peace, not a field of chaos. You know, have you ever been in a group of people trying to flesh out a new idea for, let's say, for their company or their business, and everybody gets all excited and they're talking over each other, and it gets to be chaotic and they start arguing and debating, nothing good comes from it. I'm not saying you can't have a creative idea pop in the middle of what looks like chaos, but I'm talking about this very human experience of, you know, conflicting rather than. I'll give you an example. I belong to a group called the Association for Global New Thought. I was part of them for 20 years, and we would have meetings, and we needed to come up with a great idea for a conference or convention, and if we didn't have anything pop, we would just close our eyes and sit in silence for a few minutes. And then we'd open our eyes and people would gently express what came to them. And there usually was a great idea in the midst. So we'll talk more about this when we come back. It's time for us to take our first break to welcome our sponsors and thank them for being there for us. And take a look and then come back, because we'll be here waiting for you.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the Secret War, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the Secret War free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
Hi everyone, we're back. Welcome to Living Consciously. Well, we've been talking today about the myth of peace. The myth is that peace is something we will achieve when everybody stops behaving badly. There's a lot of that going on. And if things are different. But the truth is, we will achieve peace in the outer world when we have experienced it in the inner. And that's why part of my life's work is to try to get people to meditate, to try to get people to discover how important the power of their mind is and how important their thoughts are, and how the fewer thoughts we have, the healthier our mind is. Why is that? Because when we have fewer thoughts, real ideas can get through. Real ideas come from God, if you will. They come from the cosmos. They come from the quantum field of all possibility. So if we're all cluttered up with local ideas, they don't do this and they don't do that, and I wish things were different, and I hate my life, and whatever, or all those things on the news, real ideas can't get through. We're just too cluttered up. So peace, and this is scientific, peace is the resting place between thoughts, the resting place between your heartbeat. It is a field where you actually live. And when we experience it on a regular basis, very subtly, it begins to infuse itself into our daily life, and we find that we are happier and healthier people. And I've been working with some of the ideas from Dr. Peter Russell. I know Peter. I've had him in some of my centers. He's a really cool guy, and he's a very deep thinker. And I'm just going to read some things that I turned to from the Tibetan Book of the Great Liberation. The Tibetans are really wise people, the spiritual adepts of the Tibetan tradition. Matter is derived from mind, not mind from matter. You see, what we are first is consciousness. What we are first is an awareness. And then we become revealed as form and experience. But first, we're awareness. And that's why meditation is so healing, because we tap back into that awareness. And here's from the Isha Upanishad, an ancient Indian text. It says there's a fourth state of mind beyond the waking, sleeping, dreaming. There's a fourth state. It said it's not outer awareness, it's not inner awareness. It is not a suspension of awareness. It is not knowing, it is not unknowing, nor is it knowingness itself. It can be neither seen nor understood. It cannot be given boundaries. It is ineffable and beyond thought. It is indefinable. It is known only through becoming it. Now, whenever you say something about becoming or achieving or attaining, we get the idea that it's a big, onerous effort in time and space. It's exactly the opposite. to become what those ancient Indian Vedic texts spoke about and science is discovering today is to simply allow yourself to feel it, because it's already there. Isn't that the coolest thing when you think about it? Everything we are seeking is already present in us as a potential. And the fewer thoughts we have, the more we are able to discern our own potential. And how that feels is you get great ideas. And I think, oh, gosh, I could do that. Oh, wow. And it's kind of it's a very natural way of experiencing life, is to be tuned into possibility. That's really what all this is about, is how can we tune in to the possibility that is us, the potential that is in the field of awareness that we are. How can we do it? Well, by moving in the direction of where it exists, which is beyond time and space, outside of time and space. Now, we spend a lot of time in time and space, and that's great. It's fun to be human. It's fun to be physical. It's fun to eat tacos. It's fun to go dancing, which I'm going to do later today. But it's also miraculous, beautiful, and stunningly real to be in a non-doing state, to be in a state of just being. And that is something that anybody can do. You know, everybody makes it so difficult. I'm going to teach you to meditate right now. All right? So all you need to do is sit in a chair that supports your weight and doesn't have arms because you don't want anything bumping against you. You just want to be free. Feet on the floor and just sit up. You don't have to do any yoga positions. You don't have to do anything hard that will make your body start cramping or aching, because you don't want to do that. All right? So all you do is close your eyes, put your hands in your lap, and allow a little tiny sound to come into your awareness. And today I'm using the sound of hum. We all know hum, hum. It's a vibratory sound. Hum. And it means nothing, which is good. You know, people say, oh, I'm going to meditate on God. Well, don't do that, because your mind will go off on this old philosophical bent of what God is or what it is not. Or people say, well, I'll meditate on love. Don't do that one either. Don't meditate on ideas. Meditate to be. So what you want is a sound that doesn't mean anything to you and that has a pleasing quality to it that you can let your attention rest on. So the practice of meditation is this. This is how easy it is. Sound. Hum. Internally, you're not saying it out loud. You can say it out loud a few times and then interiorize it. Hum. I can hear it. You know how you can hear it. And then you start thinking of something else. Invariably you will. That's what everybody does. It's not wrong. It's just what happens to the mind. So you go, oh, you don't open your eyes. You just think, oh, I've been thinking. Hum. Thought, 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 thought. Oh, thinking. Hum. Thought, 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 thought. Oh, thinking. Hum. Hum. And sometimes, very often, you'll just hear the sound. And you'll sit there for a good bit of time without thinking. And then you'll go, oh, I haven't had a thought for a while. So you'll, that's what meditation is. It's not trying to get rid of the thoughts. It's noticing them. And going back and choosing to ignore them in a way. To go back to your mantra, which is hum. This is so easy. People have made this so difficult. And they've surrounded it with all kinds of rituals and chanting and bells and gongs and that's all fine. It's just, you know what that's all for? Is to get you in the mood to do this. But to actually do it is the easiest thing in the world. And it's the hardest thing for most people because they are so bent on doing. And meditation is being, no doing. We have a bias against not doing, you know. How many times have you had a day off and you started feeling guilty because you weren't doing anything? Yeah, it's a cultural training that we all go through. And it came out of our Puritan upbringing, our origins. And Even some of our more liberal parents were like that. My mother couldn't stand it if we were sitting around the house doing nothing, just hanging out. No, get up, do something, It's very ingrained. So we have to take steps to counteract that. And meditation is one of the steps we can take. And as I said, it's a meaningless sound like hum, noticing your thought, noticing that you were thinking. Don't even think about what it was. And then go back to the sound. And every time you notice you've had a thought, just say, oh, thinking, back to the sound. You'll be amazed at how easy it is to slip in between. It just happens because it's an extremely natural state. Extremely natural. There's nothing weird about it. There's nothing religious about it. There's nothing occult about it. It's just it's as natural as breathing and as necessary as breathing. All right? So this holiday, when you wish someone peace, be sure you know what you're talking about. It's like you might as well say, I affirm that you contact your inner peace, or something like that. All right, so we're coming down to the last part of our show, and I just want to remind you that we do have a Sunday meeting at 10:30 at the Mesilla Community Center, which is on Calle de Santiago. It's a really cool place. It's got a wonderful vibration. It's a really old school, and now that's a community center. So join us at 10:30 for a talk like this and some discussion, and you'll meet some like-minded people. You can also get on our website, which you see right behind me, mvcsl.org. Make a donation via PayPal. We really appreciate your financial support. We are a nonprofit. Contact me through my website, carolcarnes.com. And buy my book. I have a book called The Way In, which is a daily message, and you can get that on lulu.com. All right? So until we meet again, tell your friends that this program is on YouTube and that we have a new one every week. That's a good way to show them what this teaching's all about. Okay? Till we meet again, happy holidays. Peace.